at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Friday, September 6th. I'm Dean Obeidallah. As always, here to be your MBFF, as I am the needy one. I'll be needy all weekend at Dean Obeidallah. Drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. Hope you have some fun planned for this weekend because Congress gets back in session Monday. I'm hoping we're talking about impeachment stuff. Sunday, I'll be on Joy Reid Show on MSNBC. I hope you'll check out Joy Show. I hope you always check out Joy Show, if I'm on or not. So the magic number is 424. 424 days till November 3rd, the most important election of our lives. 424 days. This is our judgment day. But if you live in North Carolina, you have two elections on Tuesday in two congressional districts. In the 3rd and 9th Congressional District. In the 3rd, we'll talk more about it Monday, but the 3rd's not as competitive. The 9th is much more competitive. And the Republican Dan Bishop, a Trumpite, against Dan McCready, a Democrat who is a former Marine Corps captain, who's running a great campaign down there. And a Democrat has not won in that district since the 60s, and they're running neck and neck, which says something about how bad Trump is. And if you need some comedy, because it is Friday, we need a little comedy. Let's have a little comedy. Here is first Jimmy Kimmel last night on Donald Trump's typical work day. He breaks it down beautifully. Here's clip one.
I have to hand it to him. He has been very hard at work not working lately. The first item on Trump's schedule today, and this is true, was at 11:45. People who work at marijuana dispensaries get to work earlier than that. His daily schedule, and by the way, there's no commute. He works in the House. Daily schedule is basically wake up, TV, tweet, yell at reporters in front of a helicopter, eat, tweet, TV, tweet, eat, tweet, sleep, tweet, repeat. I mean, he had only...
And in between that, lie a lot, and then tweet, repeat. And then Colbert is a quick joke on Donald Trump's obsession with Alabama. And his whole thing about a hurricane, and all Trump cares about is correcting, in his view, a mistake by the media without any regard whatsoever for the people of North Carolina and South Carolina, which were being ravaged by a hurricane. Here's clip number 2, Colbert last night.
This afternoon, he tweeted out 4 maps from NOAA with the caption, "Just as I said, Alabama was originally projected to be hit. The fake news denies it." Those maps are from a week ago. You made your dumb Alabama tweet 2 days later when the maps looked like this, when it was clearly not going anywhere near Alabama. So once again, all weather models show 100% likelihood that the path of your head goes straight where the sun don't shine. He also retweeted an Alabama National Guard tweet from 6 days ago warning Alabamans about the storm with the message, "I was with you all the way, Alabama. The fake news media was not." How lovely. He's comforting imaginary victims of a disaster that never happened.
Unreal. The leader of the Republican Party, folks, ladies and gentlemen, and the man who sits in the White House. By the way, a short time ago, about a half hour ago, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, released a statement on their website actually undermining the National Weather Service from Thursday, which had contradicted Donald Trump. So Trump now has the NOAA undermining National Weather Service just to help Donald Trump. I don't get why Trump is so upset. Is he sitting going there like, hey, I don't want to be seen as a liar because that would be horrible. I don't want my credibility hurt because I have so much credibility right now. And this is the kind of thing where, man, this could hurt my credibility. Some people might think I actually lie. That's insane. He's got no credibility. If you believe Donald Trump, you're going to vote for him no matter what because you don't care that he lies or you're not smart enough to understand he's lying to you. There's nothing I can do about either scenario. So why waste our time with this? And forget it if he's right or wrong. That didn't matter. The issue is people in Carolina were faced with a deadly hurricane. Now, I think the death toll in Bahamas is over 20 now, and they said there's bodies all over the place. So a deadly hurricane zooming in on America, on Carolinas, and Trump is more concerned, folks, with correcting what he views as a mistake. That he said Alabama, who gives a crap? Who gives a crap? A real leader doesn't do this. And again, as I said it yesterday, and I don't want to harp on it, but it reminds me so much of my mom in the early stages of dementia when she would just get locked into something and talk about it over and over and over and over. Now she's in mid-level of dementia, and it's much more difficult to have. We can have conversations, but it's more challenging. Then it was a lot of this stuff, a lot of this like calling me up after a conversation later that she had brought up some issue, and then she calls me later, I told you about this thing. What are we going to do about it? I'm like, Mom, we just talked about it. She goes, no, we have to address it, that kind of stuff. Now she doesn't even remember having the conversation, which is a little bit harder in life to deal with that. Anyone who's had a loved one who has any form of dementia knows what I'm talking about right now. So it's more painful now, but before it was just frustrating. And I don't know if that's where Trump is. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's narcissism, but I will tell you this, that there's something real happening right now, and it's not something I'm rooting for. But we had the jobs report today, and the economy is objectively slowing down. And I'm not rooting for it. I've been very clear. I do not want a recession at all. But clearly, and I'll go through some of this, Donald Trump inherited a great economy from Barack Obama, from our last real president. And Donald Trump has driven it into the ground, single-handedly destroyed the growth of our economy because, specifically, the trade war with China, and secondly, adding a massive amount of money to our deficit, which at some point is going to scare investors. So what did we learn today? And it's kind of weird because yesterday Trump tweeted out of the blue. He tweets, really good job numbers. That's it, just the words, really good job numbers, no context, nothing. That was yesterday he tweeted it. And I assumed that they'd given him a glimpse of today's job numbers because the first Friday of every month, Department of Labor releases the job numbers, giving you the idea of how many jobs were created from the month before. So he tweets really good job numbers. I'm assuming they're going to be great numbers, and he got a preview of it, and I wasn't upset like that. So be it. We have good jobs. Well, what happened is Wall Street today was expecting 150,000 new jobs to be created in August. We actually missed that number by over 10%. 130,000 jobs were created. But it's actually worse than that. 25,000 of those jobs were temporary jobs where people were hired to work for the Census Bureau, to do the census. So in reality, our economy created 96,000 private sector jobs. That's the lowest since February. And even more worrisome, according to CNBC today, the real unemployment rate, which includes discouraged and underemployed workers, has gone up. It is now 7.2% from 7%. While that's not a huge increase, it shows things are sort of these leading indicators are showing something beneath the surface that is not good. It is concerning. And we'll go through a little bit more of this. And, it's odd because Trump, everything his entire presidency has been, I might be a white supremacist, I might be a liar, I might be sexist, I might mock victims of sexual assault, I might ban transgender Americans and demonize Muslims and black people, but I'm giving you a good economy, right? That's what his whole sales pitch has been. Well, that's peeling away little by little by little. I want to remind you, December 2017, when Trump was trying to get America and Congress to pass his tax scam to help GOP wealthy donors so they'll give donations to Republicans, he said the promise was jobs, jobs, jobs. Here he is, clip number 3 from December 2017.
It'll be fantastic for the middle-income people and for jobs. It'll also benefit lots of other things. I mean, we're looking to, if you look at the whole thing, everybody's going to benefit. But I think the greatest benefit is going to be for jobs and for the middle class.
So jobs. This thing is going to be a job creator. We all remember that. It was part of the lies that we were told by Trump. That's why this Alabama thing is part and parcel of the lying machine of Donald Trump. In reality, and I've made this point before, that on the jobs reports, we'll get these numbers that get a headline that often will be good. And then the next month or 2 months later, Department of Labor will walk it back and go, we revise the numbers downward. And the jobs growth was not as great. In fact, that's what happened again today. They came out and they said The jobs, and it keeps happening every month. It's never upwards. It's always downwards. They came out today. They say the jobs reports in June and July were not as good as we first told you. In June, we told you 193,000 jobs were created. In reality, only 178,000, which is almost 20,000 less. And in July, we told you 164,000 were created, only 159. But even more dramatic here. And what I'll read after is what the economists have said about this. Just a few weeks ago, and we covered this on the show, that job growth was overestimated by the Trump regime, which to me, I believe nothing from this regime of liars, that job growth, they claimed in 2018 through 2019, from all 2018 through early 2019, they claimed a huge number. Well, a few weeks ago, they revised it saying it was less. They were off. They had overestimated the job growth. How much do you think they overestimated job growth? A few thousand jobs, maybe 100,000 jobs? No. They misled the American people and now say they overestimated by 501,000 jobs. Meaning they kept telling people all collectively each month, job growth was much better than it was. And now they go, it was 500,000 jobs, less than we told you. That is the largest revision of jobs since the Great Recession. And what that means, according to economists, is that means these revised figures mean the economy, and this is the words of the economists, did not get a huge boost last year from President Trump's tax cuts and higher federal spending. They go on to say this also signals the economy is a bit weaker than previously believed. So that's one big thing here. And there's something here about even what happened today. And I don't want to get too wonky, and I'm not an economist, but I follow this as much as I can, and I think about it a lot, these numbers. And some things don't make sense. What happened is today, Trump is saying unemployment rate did not move. It didn't go up remarkably. But the labor participation rate went up, which is the percentage of Americans who are either have a job or actively looking for a job. That number went up. So when that number goes up and you're not creating a lot of jobs, typically the unemployment rate goes up too. But it's normal. Sometimes it's not even a bad reason because more Americans say, hey, there's jobs being created. I want to get out there and try to get a job. So temporarily, unemployment rates might tick up a little bit. But no, the labor participation rate went up according to the Department of Labor today. Jobs were not created the way they were supposed to. Only really 90,000 private sector jobs created. Yet unemployment didn't move. That makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not being like Trump here. I hope I don't sound like Trump. But this sounds like cooking the books, my friends. That's what it feels like. Because for unemployment not to go up, you had to create a lot of jobs and more people come into the workforce. A lot of people said they got off their chairs. They go, I'm going to go try to get a job. And then a lot of jobs were created and unemployment rate doesn't move. So that's part of it. But so no jobs. And let's listen today. I want to play a couple of clips of Jerome Powell. He known as Jay Powell. He's the Federal Reserve Chair. He was picked by Donald Trump. He was touted by Trump. Oh, the greatest guy ever. Trump doesn't like him now. But here's first Jay Powell today on the economy overall. Clip number 4, please.
The United States economy has continued to perform well and is in a good place. In fact, we're well into the 11th year of this expansion, which began back in the second half of 2009. It's now the longest such expansion since we began keeping reliable records. And the outlook, the most likely outlook for our economy remains a favorable one, with moderate growth, a strong labor market, and inflation moving back up close to our 2% goal. All that said, there are significant risks, and we've been monitoring those, including, as you mentioned, slowing global growth, uncertainty around trade policy, and also persistently low inflation.
So there it's kind of measured. He's not saying we're going into a recession, but the Fed chair has some concerns. And the global slowdown affects everyone. It's global. That's no matter what. Then he goes on here and listen very carefully. He talks about what our growth will be. And GDP, our gross domestic product, is simply our nation's output economically. So it just is like a measure of how we're doing economically. So listen to what he says, his prediction about what our growth will be on a percentage basis going forward. Here's clip number 5.
We grew at about 2.5% in the first half of the year. For the year, we'll be somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. That's very much driven by consumer spending, which represents 70% of our economy. Consumer has been strong. The service sector has been strong. The manufacturing, trade, and business investment side has been weaker and is, in fact, now sideways to slightly down.
So there he is. There's the Fed chair saying our growth this year will be about 2.5%. Same thing next year. So our growth as a nation, just like if your wages were going up only 2.5%, you have a sense of what's going on. It's good. It's not great. But here's Donald Trump to remind you, and I hope the Democrats run this in their campaigns. Here's Trump on the White House lawn again, December 2017, selling the massive tax cut for his wealthy donors so they can give money to GOP candidates, talking about what numbers he said, if we pass this tax cut, here's the kind of growth you're going to see. Here's clip number 6, please.
The economy now has hit 3%. Nobody thought it would be anywhere close. I think we can go to 4, 5, and maybe even 6% ultimately. Each percentage point is $2.5 trillion. We are back. We're really going to start to rock. We need this as our final push.
There you go. I need a tax cut for my donors as the final push. We're going to get to 5-6% growth, folks. The rockets, it's going to be exploding of an economy. Here we are 2 years later, and we're slowing. We're at 2.5% growth. The Fed chair said that. Job growth has slowed down. And why? Why? Different reasons. But here's one, Jay Powell, expanding today. And this is all Trump, folks. Here you go. Here's clip number 7.
The global economy has been slowing since the middle of, let's say, 2018. We see that continuing with China and Germany and the EU. There are many factors that are driving that. Trade policy uncertainty is one of them, but it's not the only one. But trade policy uncertainty will be weighing on business investment decisions and that sort of thing.
There you go. Trade policy uncertainty is making businesses concerned about investing, about spending money, about hiring. And who is controlling our trade policy? Donald J. Trump. It's all him. There's nobody else. There's no Democrats involved, not even Republicans. It's just him having a trade war. So now you have businesses slowing down in spending. You're going to have less hiring, less investing in new products, new product lines, especially if you could be affected by China. And some might be, you're hoping that the trade wars end. You could buy goods for cheaper. Others might be worried about what, the other side of it. What if we start investing and the trade war gets worse and then I got to lay people off? So, and Trump, as a result, actually trolling his own Fed chair, tweets after that statement by Jay Powell, his own handpicked Fed chair, he tweets, the economy is great. The only thing adding to uncertainty is the fake news. The only thing adding to uncertainty is the fake news. No, your trade policy, as your Fed chair just said, is creating uncertainty. There is all uncertainty in the economy. Always. There's going to be uncertainty. You can't control everything. But in this case, Trump has created the number one reason for uncertainty. And here's something worse. As CNN reported this week, the New York Federal Reserve says now there's a 38% chance of recession occurring by August 2020. 38%. To give you some context here, this is the highest chance of a recession the Fed has projected since the start of the Great Recession in 2007. And the New York Fed Reserve has a pretty good record here. Their historical data shows that the past 7 recessions have occurred shortly after the probability got over 30%. We're at 38%. Again, not hoping for it. I don't want a recession. But what Donald Trump has done is inherited a great economy from President Obama. One working for most people, not everyone. And he is driving it into the ground like he did with business after business. You see why he filed for bankruptcy 6 times. It's right in front of all of us here. And, Trump will talk about, wage growth is amazing. And they report today, wage growth is about 3%. And inflation is 2%, meaning it's a 1% net raise for the average American. 1% in a year. What is that? That's not a great economy. It's what we had before, to be blunt. Under Obama, we had months of much more growth, other months matching Trump, a few months less than Trump, depending what time period you look at it. But it is certainly sliding now. And what I want to ask, forget the politics of this. I want to know, what are you seeing economically? Listeners are from all over the country. Are you seeing where you live economic slowdown, or is it going the same, or is it getting better? Whatever it is, this is not politics. This is really sincerely, what are you seeing yourself, for your family? What are you seeing with your peers and your community? Has the economy shifted in the last year and a half or so, especially in the last year during this trade war? Any changes whatsoever? If there's none, it's fine. I'm not here to fight you, and I sincerely want to hear from around the country what's going on. I can tell you in New York City, what we've seen in the last 6 months to a year is real estate sales have just stopped, frozen. People do not want to invest and buy properties, residential properties. I'm not sure. I don't know much about commercial, but I know residential. So that's a sign that the economy is slowing. People are concerned about investing their money. I'm curious as to what's going on around the rest of the country. What are people seeing? Is it just, and are you more optimistic today about the economy looking forward the next year? Are you the same, or are you less optimistic about the economy going forward right now? And that so much will have an impact on 2020. But I'd love to hear people. I'd love to hear from you. You're my guest at the top of the hour. What are you seeing economically where you live? What are you feeling? What's your family feeling? Because it doesn't matter what politicians can say. Politicians can tell you the economy is terrible and it's great for you. Or vice versa, they could tell you it's great and it's not great for you. I don't think it's one of the areas that politicians really can't be effective at misleading, because you know how things are doing. You know how you feel. You know how your family is. You know how you're paying your bills. How's it going for you? How's it going for your community, your friends and family? 866-997-4748. Give me a call. 866-997-4748. You're my guest right to the top of the hour right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this,